Ahsoka Tano, feeling an intense disturbance in the Force, realizes something terrible is happening. She senses the deaths of countless Jedi with the execution of Order 66. This deep tremor echoes in the Force, disturbing her mind and spirit. The connection she has always had with Anakin Skywalker, her former master, mixes with this dark feeling, increasing her anxiety and awakening her intuition. She knows that something very serious has happened, but the exact nature of this event still eludes her. Determined to understand the situation better, she decides to immerse herself in deep meditation. While concentrating, Ahsoka enters a meditative state and is immediately consumed by a terrifying vision. She sees Anakin, but he is no longer the man she knew. He is on Mustafar, wounded and in agony, surrounded by a scene of destruction and fire. The sight is so intense that it almost makes her lose her concentration, but Ahsoka keeps her focus. She feels the pain and darkness emanating from Anakin, and it frightens her deeply. Realizing that something terrible has happened to him, Ahsoka decides that she must act quickly to save him, or he will be lost forever. Without wasting any time, Ahsoka follows her intuition and immediately heads for Mustafar. When she arrives on the planet, she feels the Force guiding her steps, as if every movement were dictated by a deep and inexplicable instinct. The landscape around her is desolate, with rivers of lava and clouds of smoke covering the horizon. Eventually, she finds Anakin, slumped and unconscious, on the brink of death. His body is severely burned and battered, but, to her surprise, he is still alive. Ahsoka realizes that the situation is extremely serious and time is against them. She knows she must act quickly to save him, because every second lost could mean Anakin's death. Determined to save her former master, Ahsoka carries Anakin to her ship, using all her strength and the Force to support the weight of his wounded body. She chooses to take him to Polis Massa, a planet known for its advanced medical technology and for being relatively isolated, making it a safe place to care for Anakin without attracting unwanted attention. During the journey, Ahsoka struggles against despair, hoping that they will arrive in time. She knows that the fate of the galaxy may depend on Anakin's survival, and this responsibility weighs heavily on her shoulders. Upon arriving on Polis Massa, Anakin is rushed to a recovery chamber, where the best medical droids and local specialists begin to treat his wounds. His condition is critical, and the doctors decide to put him in an induced coma to stabilize his vital functions while they work to heal his extensive injuries. Ahsoka watches everything with a tight heart, knowing that she has done everything in her power. Now all she can do is wait and trust in the Force. During his coma, Anakin experiences a strange sensation of lightness and freedom. He sees himself outside his body, as if he were a spirit of the Force. At first, he is disoriented and confused, not knowing exactly what is happening. However, before panic can take hold of him, he senses the presence of someone behind him. Turning around, he sees the spirit of Qui-Gon Jinn, the former Jedi Master who trained Obi-Wan Kenobi. Qui-Gon looks at him with an expression of compassion and serenity, and begins to talk to Anakin about his mistakes, how fear led him to the dark side, and how he can still find redemption. Out of his body, Anakin begins to understand his situation with a clarity he never had before. Qui-Gon Jinn then decides to take Anakin to a very special and emotionally powerful place, the delivery room where Padme Amidala is about to give birth. In her drowsy state, Padme's brain waves are at a level that allows her, for a brief moment, to feel Anakin's presence beside her, as if he were alive. The Force within her, due to the presence of Luke and Leia still in her body, creates a temporary connection between the two. Padme believes that Anakin is still alive and by her side, and this belief, together with the strength of the connection through the Force, rekindles her will to live. Thanks to this spiritual connection, Padme survives childbirth, going against the grim fate that seemed inevitable. With the twins Luke and Leia safely born, Anakin's health begins to improve. After a long period of recovery, he awakens and, although he still bears physical scars, he is transformed. Anakin visits Padme and their children. His prosthetic legs are almost imperceptible and his face, despite the scars, is beginning to regenerate. The reunion with his family brings a sense of renewal and purpose, and Anakin realizes that, despite his past failings, he has a new chance to be the father and husband that Padme and his children need. With his physical and mental strength recovered, Anakin comes into contact with Obi-Wan Kenobi. Together, they decide it's time to confront Emperor Palpatine and put an end to the tyranny he has imposed on the galaxy. Anakin knows that this is the path to his redemption, and Obi-Wan, now aware of the change in his former apprentice, agrees to fight alongside him. They begin to gather old allies, including some surviving Jedi, and plan an offensive that could change the course of history. While Anakin and Obi-Wan organize the resistance, the Jedi and their allies manage to recruit Mandalorians and even reactivate old battle droids, forming a diverse and powerful army. This new alliance brings hope to the rebels, who are now better prepared than ever to face the Empire. The plan is clear: attack Mandalore and surprise the Imperial forces that are trying to subjugate the planet. The attack on Mandalore is swift and brutal, catching the Imperial forces completely off guard. The Mandalorians, known for their ferocity and skill in combat, fight with everything they have, while the battle droids provide strategic support. The battle is intense, but the rebels maintain their initial advantage. However, Palpatine soon realizes the attack and sends significant reinforcements to Mandalore, determined to crush this rebellion before it spreads further across the galaxy. When the Imperial reinforcements arrive, the rebels are ready. Using their experience in guerrilla warfare and knowledge of the terrain, they manage to ambush Palpatine's troops at several strategic points. The battle intensifies, but the rebels have a trump card that the Emperor didn't expect. They have discovered a way to remove the clones' inhibitor chips, freeing them from Palpatine's control. Once the clones are free, many decide to join the rebellion, turning against the Imperials who once ran their lives. Aware that the situation is getting out of hand, Palpatine decides to go personally to Mandalore to put an end to the rebellion. His arrival is accompanied by a group of Inquisitors, ready to hunt down and destroy the remaining Jedi. Palpatine is confident of his victory, certain that his presence on the battlefield will be enough to annihilate the resistance. However, he underestimates the determination and unity of the rebels and the Jedi who oppose him. An epic battle unfolds on Mandalore, with Palpatine and his Inquisitors facing off against the Jedi and their rebel allies. The skies are filled with battling ships, while on the ground, lightsabers and blasters light up the battlefield. The Inquisitors prove to be formidable opponents, but the Jedi, led by Anakin and Obi-Wan, fight with the strength of hope and despair. During the battle, Obi-Wan Kenobi comes face to face with Palpatine, and despite his skill and experience, he is overcome by the Emperor's dark power. In a moment of pure evil, Palpatine kills Obi-Wan, sending a shock of pain and rage through the Force. With Obi-Wan dead, Anakin is seized by a cold, controlled rage. He knows that this is the decisive moment, and that the galaxy depends on his victory over Palpatine. In a final confrontation, Anakin comes face to face with the Emperor. The fight is fierce, with both warriors using all their skill and power in the Force. Eventually, Anakin manages to disarm Palpatine, leaving him at his mercy. In a dramatic twist, it is Ahsoka who encourages him to finish off the Emperor, whispering to him, "Do it!" Anakin, remembering the mistake he made in sparing him and making himself responsible for Mace Windu's death, doesn't hesitate this time. He, with Mace Windu's memory telling him that he was too dangerous to stay alive, executes Palpatine, finally destroying the greatest threat to the galaxy. With the fall of the Emperor, the rebels begin to negotiate the restoration of the Republic. The Jedi, once hunted and marginalized, are now forgiven and readmitted into the new galactic order. The Republic is restored, and a new Jedi Council begins to form, made up of those who have survived the purgatory of war. There is hope for a new beginning, where peace and justice can finally prevail. After all these battles and sacrifices, Anakin decides it's time to step away from the Jedi Order for a while. He wants to spend these precious years with Padme and their children, helping to raise Luke and Leia away from the fighting and violence that have marked his life. This decision brings peace to his heart, as he now understands that love and family are what matter most. He and Padme finally have the chance to live the life they always dreamed of, raising their children in an environment of love and security. Years pass, and when Luke reaches the age to join the Jedi Order, Anakin feels it's time to return too. He takes Luke to be trained, preparing him to face the challenges that the galaxy can still offer. Ahsoka, who had gone her own way, also decides to return, ready to retake her place among the Jedi. Together, they help rebuild the Order, ensuring that the mistakes of the past are not repeated, and that the Force can be a guide to wisdom and balance for future generations.